Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the real mechanics of why exactly you get so bloated after eating. We're always so quick to blame the food on our plate, right? But the research actually points us in a totally different direction. We need to be looking at the machinery inside your body.
Okay, so let's dive right into this crazy paradox. How is it that eating a super healthy salad leaves you completely bloated, but eating ultra-processed junk food doesn't? You've probably noticed this yourself. You sit down, eat a giant plate full of raw veggies, and boom, suddenly your stomach expands like a balloon. Yet you go and eat a fast food burger, and while it's obviously terrible for your bloodstream, your stomach stays totally flat. Well, the reason is that ultra-processed junk food is essentially already broken down for you. Real, healthy food, on the other hand, requires a robust, fully functioning digestive system to process.
To understand this, I want you to think of your gut kind of like a fish tank. You could treat every single sick fish individually, but until you clean the toxic water, or in our case, fix the internal environment of your digestive tract, absolutely nothing is going to heal. Digestion is this perfectly sequential machinery system. If the internal environment is fundamentally broken, just swapping out your food won't fix a thing. So today, we're taking a fascinating anatomical journey. We'll quickly cover it's not the food, the stomach acid paradox, the role of bile, when microbes move up, mapping your abdominal pain, and finally, how to fix the system. Starting with part 1, it's not the food, understanding your internal assembly line. Because to actually stop the bloating, we have to look at the literal plumbing of your body. Look at it this way. Digestion is essentially a biological assembly line. And just like any regular assembly line, a bottleneck at step 1 completely ruins the entire process downstream. It all starts in the stomach, then moves to the small intestine, which, by the way, is where 90% of digestion actually happens, while the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas add in their vital fluids. Then all of that moves through roughly 25 feet of tubing. If any single worker on this assembly line fails, that food passes down half digested, wreaking absolute havoc on the next station down the line. Which brings us to part 2, the stomach acid paradox, and why heartburn actually means you need more acid. You see, the first major failure point happens right in the stomach. Now, the absolutely crucial thing to grasp here is that a healthy stomach is not alkaline. It requires a super acidic pH of 1 to 3. I mean, that is basically comparable to battery acid. People always say your whole body should be alkaline, right? Well, actually, scratch that. That is simply not true for your stomach. We literally need this intense, incredibly strong acid to break down proteins, absorb minerals, and, this is a big one, kill invading microbes coming in on our food. And here is where the massive paradox comes in. There's this little sensor right at the top of your stomach, and it triggers a valve to close when the acid gets strong enough. So, if you have acid reflux, heartburn, or indigestion, it paradoxically means you have too little acid to trigger that valve to close. The valve just stays open, and that weak acid splashes right up. This makes the standard medical approach, prescribing antacids, the exact opposite of what you actually need. You are taking a low-acid problem and making it so much worse. What your biological reality really demands is adding more acid. Things like apple cider vinegar or betaine hydrochloride will finally force that valve shut. Moving right along to part 3, the role of bile, the detergent of the digestive system. As we travel down the chain, we hit the gallbladder. You can think of bile exactly like dish detergent on a greasy pan. It's made by your liver, and it's stored right in your gallbladder. If you lack this crucial detergent, you simply cannot break down or extract the nutrients from the fats you eat. And remember that assembly line analogy? When the gallbladder fails to deliver enough bile, your poor pancreas is forced to frantically overproduce digestive enzymes just to try and cope with those unemulsified fats. It puts a massive, totally unfair strain on the entire system. Let's look at part 4, when microbes move up, and the danger of fermentation in the wrong place. Because once food leaves the stomach, it enters about 25 feet of small intestine tubing. Ideally, the vast majority of your gut microbes should be living way down in the large intestine. But without enough stomach acid and bile acting as chemical barriers to kill them off, those microbes migrate. They invade and multiply in the small intestine, causing a condition called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. You now have fermentation happening entirely in the wrong place. If you've ever baked and watched sourdough bread rise, well, that exact same gaseous expansion is happening inside your small intestine. When you eat healthy fiber, like those raw vegetables we talked about, or even when you take probiotics, these misplaced microbes just gorge themselves on it. They ferment it, they create massive amounts of gas, and they blow your stomach up like a literal balloon. This creates a rapid, cascading disaster. Undigested food stagnates, leading to severe constipation. I mean, some people in clinical practice report only going to the bathroom once every 2 to 3 weeks. Plus, if you throw antibiotics into this mix, you wipe out the good bacteria that usually keep yeast, fungus, and candida in check. And honestly, this is where things get really wild. You might actually develop breath that smells like ammonia due to yeast byproducts, or you might start seeing unusual fungal and mold imbalances right on your skin, all because your core internal microbiome is completely out of whack. Okay, let's move to part 5, mapping your abdominal pain to diagnose your broken machinery. We are going to get incredibly practical here and map out exactly what your body is trying to tell you. Think of this table as your own personal diagnostic map. If you feel bloating or pain right under your right rib cage, that's your gallbladder talking. Often it's not even a stone, but this thick bile sludge backing up into the liver, which can bizarrely refer pain all the way up into your right shoulder. The fix here is purified ox bile, or a specific bile salt called 2-DCA. Now, if the fullness and pain are sitting right in the center or leaning to the left side, that's a congested stomach with low stomach acid. That requires an acidifier like betaine hydrochloride. And if the pain is lower down, referring around to the back or the groin area, you might actually be dealing with a kidney stone, where 1,200 milligrams of magnesium glycinate can really help bind the oxalates. And as a quick pro tip, you might also feel pain lower down on the right side. This spot is the ileocecal valve. It's the exact point where your small and large intestines meet. And you know what? It gets incredibly backed up from all that undigested food falling from the broken assembly line above it. Applying just a gentle physical massage to this specific area can sometimes push that stagnation right through and provide tremendous immediate relief.
Finally, part 6, how to fix the system and rebuild your internal environment. Now that we've mapped out the bottlenecks, let's talk about how to actually fix the assembly line itself rather than just masking your symptoms.
First things first, taking an acidifier like betaine hydrochloride right before your meals rapidly rebuilds that stomach acid. For the right side pain we mentioned, TUDCA helps lubricate those sluggish bile ducts. But to fix the bacterial overgrowth, you absolutely must starve the microbes. Intermittent fasting or even trying a temporary zero-fiber carnivore diet gives your gut the deep rest it desperately needs. Meanwhile, using specific probiotics like an L-reuteri yogurt culture can aggressively reset that bacteria. Now, while you're actively repairing this system, there are some foods you really need to avoid. Nuts, grains, seeds, and beans are incredibly hard on a compromised digestive tract. Basically, the worse off your digestion is, the less fiber you can handle. That hard-to-digest fiber will only cause more of that sourdough-style fermentation we talked about earlier. You just have to let the system heal before you ask it to process these really heavy loads. So what does this all mean for you? Well, I hope this explainer has completely reframed how you look at digestion. It's not magic. It's really just plumbing and chemistry. The only question left is, are you going to keep treating the sick fish, or are you finally going to clean the water in the tank? Start at the very top of your assembly line. Rebuild your acid and bile, and watch that frustrating bloating finally